to music. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Corner Wrestling Radio. I'm Stan Grubb. My tag team partner is here, Brian Taylor. What's going on, buddy? What a 7 days in professional wrestling, dude. Holy crap, we got so much wrestling in the past 7 days. It is hard to break it all down, but we're going to do our best. Got let's see, we had Payback this past weekend. We got All Out, of course, which was last night. We've got news that came out of the All In. Do we call it a fiasco now? I don't know. Maybe we call it a fiasco. We got all that to talk about. Plus, we've got Raw going on right now. We got some rumors to talk about. And, hey, we got some game news, some card game news, and who knows what else to talk about. But might as well just dive right into it. The news that broke this week, Brian. As a matter of fact, it broke on Friday? Yeah, Friday. CM Punk fired. F-I-R-E-D. Fired. You ought to have Vince McMahon out there. Because that's just about as final as it gets. Tony Khan starts off Saturday Night Collision with the announcement. The press release is out there. Punk's terminated based off of the instance that happened at All In. And according to Tony Khan and the disciplinary committee. Very curious as to who that's comprised of. And other incidents, CM Punk is gone from AEW. Punk got to AEW August of 2021, made his return after 7 years of being outside of the professional wrestling ring. Had some matches that were pretty cool to talk about. Made some strides, but along the way, Brian, I'm sure it's safe to say that he rubbed some people the wrong way. First and foremost, the immediate thought. What is your take on Punk being fired? I mean, there's a lot of question about how he was, we'll say how he was approached in the backstage environment between the Elite and some other talents. I mean, obviously we'll talk a little bit about what happened with Jack Perry, but before you can really get to that, you have to look at the fallout from 2022's All Out. I mean, the scrum where Punk comes out there and literally just lambasts Adam Page for going into business for himself. I myself still don't understand that. I mean, Page made a comment during the promo. I really didn't think it was a harmful thing that he said. It sounded to me, it felt to me like just a part of what they were trying to build to. But apparently that was what set off a whole lot of other things. I mean, there's stuff from, apparently not wanting to shake William Regal's hand. I don't know if that's true or not. That hasn't been confirmed. But I mean, it's tough because Punk's always been outspoken. He's always been, some would say he's always been his own worst enemy. You said it, you can't go around threatening your boss. It doesn't matter what kind of workplace you're in. If you work at McDonald's and you go to the manager and threaten to beat him up because you don't want to make Happy Meals, guess what? You'll be making Whoppers the next day. It's just, you can't do that kind of stuff. And to me, it's insane to think about why he thought he'd get away with any of this stuff, or maybe he just didn't care. I mean, obviously, it's tough to speculate as to his frame of mind, but You can't lunge at your boss. We can say that for a fact. You can't go threatening and acting like you're gonna, get into a fist fight with a guy that clearly has, at least unless we start finding out that he's what like Bischoff and a black belt or something. Clearly not prepared for that kind of confrontation. Not to mention the fact that you can't go out there and just crapping all over your coworkers in the middle of media scrums because that, you know, I mean, Ace bit a guy. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Hmm. Yeah. Wait, what? Yeah, I kind of get why you might have. Hmm. Hmm. Agreed. Yep. Not even a cup of coffee. Damn. And in that situation, Punk's trying to protect him. And tore his tricep all his shit. Yep. No, bicep. Hmm. Yep. Do you think he should have been fired? Yeah. Hmm. Hell no. Hmm. Yep. Hmm. You there? Hang on, folks. I think we may have lost our connection there. See if we can get him back here. Shoot. He is probably talking and I'm not hearing him. Crap. Okay. There he is. You, we blanked out for a second there. Sorry. Are you there, sir? Yes, I'm here. So there was a couple comments put on Twitter by some that frankly we don't respect or appreciate because of the fact that these guys have done so much to crap on the industry. But they make a good point. Bischoff, Russo, and a guy that we typically do respect in Kevin Nash. All saying the same thing. Well, two things. We'll bring up the second one here in a moment. But the first thing that was said was all three of them in agreement that Tony Khan needs a heavy, somebody to basically enact discipline on the roster when needed. I think they're right. I think if he's not comfortable making those calls, perhaps he's not in the right position that he should be in. But talk to me about that, man. I mean, here's a guy that has been, it's 5 years. Now, let's not paint it as anything too crazy. It's only been 5 years for this company. So you're learning as you go. I get it. When you first started, you had a lot of people there thinking, and this is my thought process. The idea behind the formation of AEW was main talents and the office, quote unquote, could work together to provide a show that was visibly different than that of anything else. Well, they did deliver that, but at the end of the day, it became a story of too many Chiefs and not enough Indians. And maybe it is a situation where Tony Khan needs to go, I don't do so great with the confrontation. Let me be the guy that handles the signings, the happy times, and let's have Brian be the guy that tells a young guy when he gets in CM Punk's face, "Hey, idiot, you haven't earned the time to speak your mind yet. Sit down and shut up." Because that's what needs to be happening here. Someone has got to just draw the damn line in the sand and say enough's enough. Yeah. Basically, yeah. I think that Russo and Bischoff, while they see things differently than the rest of the freaking galaxy, um, Russo didn't ever have to do anything like that. So he's just speaking from his opinion. Bischoff, on the other hand, kind of sucked at that. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, okay, I can see that. That makes sense. Right. For Vince, I would think, and maybe Bischoff. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and the example that you could have used there, or that Punk could have used, is look at what Omega and Mox did. The very first Dynamite. That wasn't a damn real glass table. They weren't stupid. Yeah. Hmm. And I mean, we don't know if Perry really got hurt outside of the laceration, but he did get hurt. And I was on Beyond Ringside a couple weeks ago, last week actually, and Eddie Lane asked me. You can catch them over at BeyondRingside.com. Eddie Lane asked me, and he asked Greg Troxel. He said, "So, your thoughts on what Jack Perry did?" And I said, "Well, here's the thing. I said the show itself was a tremendous show. I said, all in, they did a hell of a job. But here's the real issue. This is the real problem. Nobody knew what the hell Jack Perry was talking about at first. Outside of the what 5% that follows on Twitter and everything, you think anybody really knew what the hell he meant when he said, 'Cry me a river, it's real glass'? No, nobody gave a damn, and no one cared. It didn't do anything. Nobody bought a ticket to see All Out because of what Jack Perry said. And now here we are. I honestly, and you're right. When you get to the 2022 stuff, it is kind of um, beating a dead horse, so to speak. But when you look at the grand total of all of these different things that happened, it's like I feel bad for CM Punk. I feel like he got shafted. Now, he was right to be fired because you don't go after your boss. You just don't. And you're going to pay a consequence for that. They had to suspend him at first. And then what really blew my mind, and it doesn't surprise me in this day and age, but apparently there was video footage of it all. Well, guess what? If the video shows you in any kind of state of aggression towards your boss, lunging, I mean, come on. Well, supposedly this, and this is where we have to say allegedly, really, because no confirmation has come out, and until the boys at Dark Side of the Ring do an episode, and I promise you they will try. If anything we've learned from that show, they'll try. They may pull it off too. Um, Supposedly it happened at the same time. So basically, Punk's back there, and Perry gets in his face, does the whole deal. Punk gets him in a chin lock after knocking him in his face. Again, I agree with you. I think it was deserved. You can't run your mouth like that and not expect somebody to react. He's only human. Um, well, and it's the cool part of that story is that Samoa Joe does the pull apart, right? Gets Punk over there and says, "Look, you're going to the ring, or I'm taking you to the ring." That is huge, and Samoa Joe should be that heavy. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to pick a guy, there you go. Who's gonna step to Samoa Joe? Seriously. I agree. Between him and Danielson, I think those are the two guys that they should be relying on. Hmm. 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 Well, I think that what 81,000 proves is that for all of the doubters, for all of the guys like, and I'll say it, for all the guys like Sonny that say they don't understand growth. Uh, okay, well, I got 81,000 people that says they do. Sorry, not sorry. I think that's the truth. Not to mention the pay-per-view buy rates, and that's during an afternoon on Saturday. Yeah. Hmm. Well, and I think this speaks to what I said, a year ago, where I said sooner or later the honeymoon period of AEW is going to run out, and I think that's where we are. Exactly, exactly. And now it's time to do real business. You've shown that you can grow to an extent. You've shown you can now sell a shit ton of tickets, which is remarkable. You've shown that you can, in spite of everything that happened during the week, still put on back to back in 7 days so spectacular pay-per-views. And that's not hyperbole. To quote MJF, it is an extremely hyperbolic sport, but I'm not I'm not making shit up here. Legitimately, AEW took two pay-per-views and said, "Okay, well screw you. We can do it in 7 days." And they did. Mhm. Hmm. I want to say it was 11 and 11-5, but either way, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And he gave early numbers at last night's scrum of 100,000 pay-per-view buys for last night. I can remember a time where WrestleMania 7 broke a record for 100,000 pay-per-view buys. That's when it had what, 6 months of build from Royal Rumble to Mania, 4 months. This was 7 days. Yeah, that's what keeps blowing me away. Like, I agree in a lot of ways with a lot of fans, and we're going to get to all out here in just a minute. I agree with a lot of fans that have said that there's things that need to be improved upon. I agree that Tony Khan isn't always very good at the quote unquote build. But I talked about it on Twitter last night with a couple people, and I firmly believe this. We are no longer in a business that builds to pay per view. We're just in a business that builds week to week. Hmm. No, I absolutely agree with you. I think 100% you have to put it on WWE for kind of, to your point, dumbing it down. Agreed. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you really don't have to try. Hmm. 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 Yeah. And I think he is an idiot. I agree with you. Hmm. Quote unquote beat that meat. Oh, Aaron Solo and QT Marshall, I think, did it. It kind of reminded me of how Mark Henry and Big Show would just surprise us and have good matches back in the day. Yep. You are one of the first to go, this guy's going to be a huge star. Hmm. Looking like a half melted candle. CJ Perry coming out there. The Botox queen. Good God. I thought Natalia had too much Botox going on. It looked like half of her face. And yes, fans, I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to say this is body shaming, and it's not really meant to sound like that. But call a spade a spade. It looked like half her face was like paralyzed. Yes, way too much makeup. I do like that he was like, "You're not real." I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be cool." They didn't go for the obvious like big hug in the middle of the ring, although that would have gotten a huge reaction. Um, I liked that they played around with it instead. Agreed, especially when they're forced. Hmm. want to say that was 88, but I'm following. Yeah. Oh, you were right the first time. You said 86. You're correct. Sorry. But yes, sorry. Hmm. Well, I think that that speaks to the power of what AEW delivers. And heading into All Out, I mean, yeah, build wise, I'll give that to anybody that wants to say so. Sure, there was not a lot of build. Tell me there was a build for MJF and Cole against the Dark Order, and I'll call you a bold faced liar. There was none. Okay. Hmm. I mean, the both right. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was fast. It was very fast, actually. MJF. I like what's being done here because when it happens, and it will, the build right now is you could theoretically stretch this until the bidding war of 2024, so to speak, and make it so better than you Bebe has to split before anything with MJF happens next. So I think he did. I think that that's what they're building towards, and ultimately because everyone is saying right now, as far as people talking about MJF behind the scenes, that MJF is the leader, the guy behind the scenes, rallying the troops, so to speak. Um, I'm inclined to say that they're probably right, based off what I'm seeing, based off how he's acting. He did an interview with Busted Open Radio. He did like a town hall, which it's probably the closest we're going to ever get to a very authentic look at who MJF is as a person. Not the character, not the villain that MJF plays so well, but the person that MJF is. Where he literally is just talking like in between the lines, so to speak. Like, yeah, okay, I'm a scumbag, but what's his thing about I'm your scumbag? Like that's his thing right now. But he's talking about how the roster is motivated and how he's never had an opportunity to be and he says where he was scared to be vulnerable to actually accept that people wanted to like him. And maybe that's just me buying into the gimmick, and that's cool. So what? But it's cool because of the fact that we haven't gotten this kind of a look at him, and he is literally riding what's the cliche, riding the edge of a lightning bolt right now. He can't do any wrong. The double clothesline is over right now. Hmm. Yes. Right, right. At some point he will. I still stand by my initial prediction that it'll be Cole first, but I do agree with you. MJF will ultimately go bad. and it's probably not too far away. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Hmm. Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And this was, like you said, this was a fun tag match. I felt like it was a little quick, but when MJF takes, what was it? It wasn't a major move that he took with the neck shot. It was, damn, it was like a headlock takeover or something. It was something simple. No, 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 no. It was a shoulder block. It was a shoulder block, and for whatever reason, he does the shoulder block, and he's backed into the corner, and Silver hits him in the back of the head. That's what it was. He goes to the corner, and Silver just got him in the back of the head, just right at the right spot. And he sells the neck there, and he rolls outside. He's like, "Oh shit, my neck! Oh shit!" And for a second, it's like, "Oh damn," because like what AEW does well, and I think WWE has done this before, but they haven't in a while. They find a way to just, okay, so this is obviously an emotional tie. Let's pull this string here. And they do it, and you're like, oh, is he really hurt? And that's the magic of what he's doing, because MJF is, like I said, he's riding this lightning bolt. Like the fans are just over for whatever he wants. So if he's grabbing his neck and he's on the ground, it's like, oh shit, MJF's hurt. But the reality is, like you said, he could have been going to the back on, oh, my neck. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it at him. He ultimately comes back, and we get the kangaroo kick, by the way. Hilarious. I mean, and then the double clothesline gets the win. I guess there's going to be fans that complain about this. I'm sure Cornette will have something to say. That's just who he is. But you cannot argue with what's being successful right now. And hey, it is successful. Well, the thing is, MJF is still bad. He's just getting cheered right now. So this match ends, of course, like I said, better than you, Bebe. Cole and MJF successfully retain the titles. And the story that comes out of this really isn't the victory, it's what happens after. where Samoa Joe's music hits. I thought MJF was gonna go off the stage for a second. Gets a shove from Samoa Joe, very very reminiscent of back in NXT where Joe puts MJF into a wall. Um, so MJF hits the ring and there's a brawl, and part of me thought they're really feeding into what the story is with Punk and Perry. Because what did Samoa Joe lock on to MJF? Front face lock chokehold, which is supposedly what Punk did to Perry. I noticed this. I'm sure some fans are out there going, and then all the tinfoil, I can hear it rustling. It's cool. I'm doing it with you. I was like, oh, that's a dirty throwback. But it was smart. I mean, it was smart. It makes you think. And now we get the build towards, I guess, Samoa Joe and MJF, which, that, as a lot of our folks in the C2C chat will say, that match is going to hump. That's going to be really damn good. Yeah, you said that a couple times in the chat. I wanted to ask you about that. What was it in the pay per view itself that made it weird? Was it because of the subtle jabs they were taking, or was there something else overall? Yes, yes, she did. Well, to your point of pacing, I felt like Darby Allen and Luchasaurus was really oddly paced. I did not, beyond any thought process whatsoever, think that Darby was going to get the shit knocked out of him and be bled the way he did last night. That was it was a little uncomfortable to watch. Like you realize you start thinking about all these different injuries that Darby Allen has succumbed over his life, not career, because his fractured skull happened in a skateboarding accident. His back injuries happened in a skateboarding accident. So not necessarily wrestling injuries, but Jesus, how much does this guy really need to go through? How many times do you got to beat the snot out of him before finally, like, hey, maybe maybe stop for a while? Yes. Yeah, I agree with you there, especially when you look at guys like Nick Wayne. And if they bring him back, Jack Perry, if they keep it up with the slow build for Hook, I think there's an argument to be made, not to mention the obvious, right? So Ray Phoenix, Pac, and so on. And even Orange Cassidy. I'd love to see that. Almost, yeah. 326 days. Go ahead, say it. Say what? Say it again. Damn right. Most consistent performer in AEW. It's our show. We can be sidetracked if we want. Um, I would like to see the cruiserweight division. That'd be cool. Who takes the TNT title next? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, let's go back to Samoa Joe and Shane Taylor. First and foremost, if Shane Taylor's not under contract now, you're making a huge mistake. That man has proven he belongs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good observation. Shane Taylor was moving for the size that he is, and I gotta say, what did they say? He was almost 400 pounds. He, yeah, Shane Taylor. Yeah, wow. What kind of velocity does a guy like that get? Jesus. Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. This would have been a great opportunity to not just prove that Shane Taylor's under contract, but also give him a great starting off point. Plus, Shane Taylor Enterprises. Did we forget that's a thing? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see him run it back. Let's go to the next Ring of Honor pay per view and bring that up. Let's do it. I'd be cool with that. Okay, so let's see here. We talked a little bit about Darby Allen getting the snot knocked out of him. Luchasaurus, we've joked about it. I love Luchasaurus and all. Don't get me wrong. He is my favorite of the Jurassic Express, but we've talked about it many times. We expected that Jack Perry would be the standout there. No. And as it stands, Luchasaurus doing a tombstone already seems ridiculously difficult to me because you're landing on your knees, and my poor knees just say, no, please, don't do that. He does it 3 times. He does a damn tombstone, stands up from the kneeling position, does it again, does it again. In other words, stands back up and does it again. Like, fuck. And then he hits the lariat to the back of the head, which, I mean, really, 3 tombstones should have been enough. You didn't need to just try to take his head off. Um, Kudos to both of these guys, though, to Darby and to Luchasaurus for making this match look the way it did, because you need to really put credibility to Luchasaurus as champion. This match did that. Um, and then it kind of begs the question, okay, well, Luchasaurus just, I'll say it, walked through Darby Allen. Granted, he had a little bit of help from Christian. Who is the guy that is going to finally take that title away? This really solidified Luchasaurus as a monster. This was almost a Kane like feel. I know there's obvious comparisons, and I'm feeding into that, but that's kind of how it felt. True. Ooh, I would like to see Kingston against Luchasaurus. 2 years ago, and I never said that, by the way. Hmm. Yeah, and I think Shane was the one that said it in our chat, and I have to say during this match I disagreed. I feel like Jim Ross did a damn good job during this match, talking about the weight differential, talking about how Darby had gone through literal hell against Shane and Christian at All In with Sting. Um, just that's the gap that gets filled when you have a guy like Jim Ross at the commentary table. There's that story piece that carries it over. And it really did. It told the story very well. It actually enhanced the vision of Darby getting his butt kicked to the point where like when is enough enough? And that's where Jim Ross is just a huge part of the commentary team. Well, it's not fair to put him and Excalibur next to each other. Exactly. Exactly. And I know some people aren't really big fans of Excalibur. I think I've heard you say before that you weren't really. I like Excalibur a lot, but it does take away from what he's doing when you've got Jim Ross literally trying to be in the one seat when he's supposed to be in the two or the three. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe have him and because Nigel's very good with the heel perspective. I love his him on color. I would have actually liked to see heard him in Nigel by themselves. Kevin Kelly, yeah. Hmm. Plus, Kelly helped him out back when they were in New Japan so much. Like I remember hearing Jim on commentary during I think it was Wrestle Kingdom, and Kevin Kelly kind of filling in the blanks there for him really made it work. Hmm. I think that the desire to mix up the table a little bit here and there makes sense, but I don't think I'd want to see that done during pay-per-views. Hour 1, hour 2 of Dynamite makes sense. Hour 1, hour 2 of Collision makes sense, but pay-per-views, I think your team should be your team. Ian, what? No, it was. Yeah, it was. It wasn't Riccaboni. It was Caprice Coleman and Kevin Kelly and Nigel during the pre-show. Which, hey, Caprice Coleman, by the way, very good, very good at the table. Hmm. Yeah. So something happens at the post match here, where Christian is getting ready to do the double concerto, the solo concerto, excuse me, to Darby. Swear to God, right then and there, I thought Edge was coming out, and I thought it was going to be the big swerve where Edge comes out, grabs the chair, threatens everybody with the chair, backs everybody off, and then Darby starts to get up. Bang! Concerto right there. I could see it. I could envision it so crystal clear. But I feel like they're putting the tease out there. Hmm. Oh yeah. Can I just say I will miss hearing Cult of Personality in a wrestling show? It is. It is. Still, I'm gonna miss it. Oh well. All right. So next up, we got Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs. Oh, go ahead. I already know what you're gonna say. Yeah. Did you watch the scrum? Christian's back there with TK. He sits down. First thing he says is, "Hi everybody. How's everybody's fathers doing this night?" Dude, come on. Hmm. Okay, okay. Fantasy booking moment. All right. Step outside All Out for a moment. The Real World Championship, which I think was a brilliant idea. It hadn't been done since Flair. I liked it. Punk's gone. That main part of that story is gone. How do you reintroduce it? Yes, that was the plan. Punk and Starks. Yeah, I agree. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and it seemed like this was their way of introducing a world championship for Collision. Right, right. Your previous real world champion is no longer here. We need a champion. He comes out last week. Nick Wayne is in the ring. And he grabs the mic, and Nick Wayne's like, "Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't say it." And Christian's like, "I've always wanted to meet you. I heard about you and your dad, who's dead." I was like, "Oh, come on." Yeah, he definitely did. Big meaty men slapping meat. Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs. We talked a good amount about this. Um, I like Miro so much. I am glad he won. It's tough because in a situation like this, you have to, someone's got to lose, right? So, because if you do a double DQ or something like that, sooner or later somebody's going to come out the victor at this feud. But Miro needed the TV time, he needed the win, he needed the exposure, so I'm on board with that. But this was one of those matches where it really had just an old school. I think you mentioned Bruiser Brody earlier, kind of just a knockdown, drag out brawl that just becomes what it was. The fans themselves chanting dueling chants, fight forever, beef, fight forever, beef. I mean, damn. This is one of those where the Chicago crowd made this match even better. Hmm. Chicken salad out of chicken shit. Yeah. Hmm. Well, and to the point of the Real World's Championship, maybe I would change the, by the way, the vernacular of what that's called. But first in line for that title, Miro. Ricky Starks and Miro would be the feud for that. Can't tell me Ricky Starks and Miro wouldn't be good for that. And I say this fully knowing that Tony Khan, I wish, by the way, in the media scrums, somebody would be bold enough to ask Tony, because of how dedicated he is to his fandom. If they would have just asked him, hey, when you were a young fan, did you ever use like TNM or another simulator for your favorite cards? Because goddamn, sometimes that's how it feels when you're watching an AEW show. Which, by the way, love Oliver Kopp, not a bad thing to use TNM, because it's a good way of kind of gauging what might work, what might look good. But I'm curious because no one ever asks him that. Everybody sticks with the safe questions. Hey Tony, you had a great pay per view. What'd you think of What you think of how this guy performed? Ask him tough questions. What? I got a beer. That's not the point. Bro, I think he was not only. Let me just be Vince Russo. Bro, what you have to understand is that a guy like Tony Khan, who's been a fan just like you and me since the 90s for him, and he always talks about how his dad and his mom would take him to wrestling shows even though they didn't really get it. They were very cool. That's what he says. You got to know he was doing something just like the rest of us. Come on. How else is he gonna? Because he said and we've seen it. If you watched All Access, if you paid attention to his interactions with Sammy Guevara, he's got everything on spreadsheets. He's got everything on paper. You got to know. He has to have been using something.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, but that's the business aspect. I'm talking about the wrestling aspect. How else are you gonna see how it plays out? You gonna write it, handwrite it all? I mean, that's how we did it back in the day. That's true. We did handwrite a lot. I think he is. I think he was using it like a bastard. I think he was probably in the old WCW chats back in the day. He was on dial up, pissing off his dad. Tony, get off the phone. I need to use the phone. Oh, you know he was. You know he was. I bet you that's how Oliver Kopp got the commentary job in Germany back when they started. I remember using your program. Will you please do commentary for me? Cocaine, Tony. Okay, so here's a couple things I noticed on social media last night. So last night on social media, I had a pretty cool conversation with a few different people. And one of the things I noticed is that for all the people that are literally attacking this man on Twitter, they've never worked a day in their lives in the industry at all. And for the cup of coffee that I've worked in it, and for the stretch that you have and Rob, I can honestly say these guys have no idea what it's like to put together a show. But they're sure damn quick to jump in and go, "Wow, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing." I'd love to see what some of these guys do as far as the job's concerned. My tinfoil hat has no creases, sir, and it doesn't conduct electricity. That's what I know. I just think, I mean, come on. They, okay, so the folks in the 70s and 80s, they had what? Pen and paper, right? In the 90s, what did we have? We had T&M. No, but if you were a kid doing fantasy booking, which is what Tony Schiavone, good God, Tony Khan claims that he was doing back in the day. That's my point. That's my point. True. Although it would be damn funny if they do a scene where he's in the backstage area with a laptop open. That's a BTE moment right there. Goddamn, pal. I don't know. Oh man, I'll never forget the year we found out it was going to be Roman and Brock the following year. It was like the day after Mania, and I think Meltzer broke it. And we were like, "Oh, come on, that's bullshit. You can't do that." And sure as shit, the following year. So Miro and Hobbs ends with Miro hitting the game over. By the way, love that he's sticking with that. Um, Hobbs attacks him after the match after they do like the handshake, which I honestly would have loved to have had them just do the handshake and let that be the end. I'm okay with this feud happening. Don't get me wrong. Like I want to see match 2 and match 3 and so on. But I would like to see them have maybe a tag run. That could be interesting. Still hope. I'll take it as that there's still hope. Um, and again, we talked about Lana or CJ Perry coming out. Miro, you're not real. What? Dude, I love the Redeemer gimmick. I love what he does with this. I just makes me want to see more. It makes me want to see what's next. Um, whatever that is, who knows? Maybe we'll see on Collision, maybe Dynamite. We'll find out. We go from there to the TBS Championship. Chris Statlander against Ruby Soho. Now, you said something earlier that two things actually. One that I agree with, one I'm curious about. I agree with you that Ruby had her best match to date with AEW last night. But you also said it looked like she was almost in slow motion. Tell me about that. Hmm. I think what they were going for here was they needed two things. One, they needed to kind of reestablish Ruby, which they did. And they also wanted to establish the power game of Statlander, which I don't think we had seen before. But we definitely saw it last night. Um, Statlander was pulling off some, I mean, like super heavyweight type of moves last night with some of the power slams and stuff that she was doing. And when we got to, and it was a rush of spots, just DDT spots and head spots, Poison Rana. Um, right then and there, I thought, ooh, this could be where Ruby takes it. Like for a moment, I was sucked in. I was like, ooh, damn. But not so much because Tony Storm comes out there. Um, I still say Tony Storm is really leaning in well to this. I call it a starlet kind of gimmick. It's like a 1950s actress or 19 whatever Marilyn Monroe style where she's just like the I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm so disturbed about all this, and then she comes out and she steals the spray paint can from Tony Storm and stops her. So I guess the Outcasts are officially done. Is that what we're saying here? The trios match, yeah. hmm I still think this was a good match. I felt like Ruby was just getting beat up for a good portion of it, and that, because of the strength and the power moves that Statlander was using, that was kind of what set the pace. And then that last, and it was a damn rush of just multiple moves after one after the other. It was the She hit a kick to the back of the head like an enziguri, and then she hit the poison rana, then she hit the tornado DDT, then she hit a hurricanrana, like a basement one where she just hit her from a kneeling position, which looked really nice, by the way. Um, just one after the other, and I honestly thought that was the rush that was going to end it. But I mean, Statlander, maybe she just never really got her due before, and this is just us seeing, oh, Chris Statlander's not to be messed with. Because we find out later in the scrum where they asked about what Tony thought about Jade Cargill coming back soon, and he said that he's looking forward to her return. He didn't give an exact date, but he said that he is expecting her back soon. This is one of those times where you have to just kind of recognize that this was Statlander's coming out party. hmm hmm Quick side note: tonight's Raw has been highlighted with different moments of Intercontinental Champions. The build right here, right now, is almost as if they're trying to set us up for Gunther losing. But anytime we've seen WWE lean in this hard to something like this, for for all you that have Raw on right now, prepare to be disappointed. Something's gonna happen here, whether it's what's the girl's name, Maxine turning, or just Gunther just squishing Chad Gable. Should still be a good main event. Anyway, back to All Out. Next up was the no DQ strap match. First and foremost on commentary, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. By the way, on Collision, love the delivery of this where, so you want the dragon, do you? And then we get Bryan Danielson, who by all assessments was not scheduled to be back for another month or two. Um, but he comes back and he has a damn classic with Ricky Starks. By the way, absolutely love the final countdown being utilized for Bryan Danielson. Hey, any Ring of Honor fan, any Bryan Danielson fan, long term, past WWE, knows that the final countdown belongs with him. up. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that the booking itself, the way things were being prepared between he and Punk, the writing was kind of on the wall that it was going to be Ricky Starks' night. Um, because I think it was leading. They were leaning into the potential of a heel turn for Punk anyway. They really were. And nothing sets you off worse than when you lose a championship that's supposed to be yours in the first place. And Ricky Starks has been set up as that villain that, I mean, and people love him no matter what. I mean, you heard his music last night. When his music hit, people were popping. Um, you can't ignore Ricky Starks. So yeah, I completely agree with you. It seemed like he got cheated in that aspect because now, if it's Danielson, you can't have Danielson lose to Ricky Starks in this comeback match. I mean, no, you can't do that. So Starks puts on a hell of a performance. These guys beat the shit out of each other. The blood loss, by the way, for Brian Danielson, just coming off of his broken arm. God, dude, stop it! You're, I want to see Danielson for the next few years. I don't want to see just Danielson one night and be done. God. But I mean, how do you not? It's a strap match. It's AEW, so you know there's going to be blood. Ugh. This was good. This was really good. And if you're out there thinking you could do strap matches, watch this and realize you can't. I'm so glad you mentioned that. That hasn't been done in a long time. I miss that stipulation. You had to touch each corner. That's how it used to be for a strap match. Um, hmm maybe. I'm not positive, but yeah, because that's where Bradshaw won the title. Hmm. I feel bad for Starks, but I know that there's still more to come, right? Obviously this isn't the end of it, but you can't put him back in the ring with Danielson after losing to a strap match. A strap match, in my opinion, is what ends a feud. It's just like a cage match. Hmm. Hmm. So, I mean, obviously the question's going to be, and I'm sure we'll find out whether it's Dynamite on Wednesday or Collision Saturday. The question is, what's next for both guys? I don't know exactly what's going to be next, but my hope is that somehow, because I don't think Danielson's 100%. I think he came back because of necessity, but I don't think he's quite cleared yet. I think they found a way. He said last night in the scrum that he didn't do a single strike with his right arm. I didn't see that. But if he says it, I'm inclined to agree or believe him. I didn't notice. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it again here probably later tonight because I watched a little bit last night. The feed I found was okay. No, I'm not gonna tell anybody where I saw it, so don't ask. But I did find one. Um, but it kept cutting out, so take that for how you will. Um, that's true. So the next match here is gonna be all you because I did not catch it. Um, what I can say is this: I think going into Dynamite, what has to happen before we get to Collision is you need to put Danielson and the BCC back on the same page because at some point I guess the BCC tried to get involved and he tells them no. I I don't know. I read last night. This is because I've catching up tonight too. So you tell me if I missed something. But what the hell's going on? I'm sorry. Raw's got John Cena coming out, except it's not John Cena. So like the cameraman's behaving like it is him. That's funny. Anyway, uh, supposedly last night the BCC were going to attack Ricky Starks, but he backed him off. Don't know if that's true or not, but I didn't see it. Is that what happened? Okay. I'm inclined to think that it didn't happen. But what I'd like to see, going back to my initial point, is I'd like to see them solidified as, you know, BCC altogether. But with Mox, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. The Twitter bot. Well, and we got a lot of card to get through here, but maybe I'm getting it confused with another part. But we'll keep going back here. Next up is Shibata and Eddie Kingston against Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. I completely missed this match, so fill in the blanks, sir. Your thoughts on this one? So the thing with Shibata that stands out to me, and this is I get emotional thinking about Shibata because all of the stuff that guy had to go through just to come back. That injury that he suffered should have been his career. He comes back. Yeah, I mean it was a brain injury if I recall. There was concerns that he was going to be, and I feel funny saying this because I hate the comparison, but like very similar to how Hayabusa his injury. Seeing Shibata come back at Forbidden Door a year ago was awesome in and of itself. Seeing him still active and the pure champion, dude, it's just you can't help but root for the guy. It's one of those like, damn, this guy fought to come back, and now he is fighting at just as high of a level as he was before his injury. Agreed. What? Absolutely. I would love to see him and MJF, him and Samoa Joe, him and Adam Cole. And hey, I love Eddie Kingston. So I'm cool with that too. I love the fact that they're tagging together. I wouldn't mind them going after MJF and Cole for the Ring of Honor titles. Notice I said not FTR. Leave my FTR alone. So I got the write up here. Claudio catches Kingston with a flash KO from a European uppercut, gets the win. Hmm. Dating back to their Shakara days. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Especially when you consider these two, and Eddie has, again, going back to All Access, where Eddie and Sammy Guevara, they had their moment where Sammy was calling him fat on television, and it really struck a chord with Eddie Kingston. They squashed it, and then they went out. I think it was the following week on Rampage after the pay per view and had a hell of a match. And that just speaks to their professionalism. So normally I'd say yes, but I have this feeling that Eddie would beat the snot out of somebody and get fired. That's true. It's true. Because let Jack Perry get in Eddie Kingston's face. Partner. Well, I'm kind of glad you brought that up. I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Well, and go ahead. Well, and here's the thing. Like, I read the story and I read the initial report where it was wrestling purists on Twitter that reported it. They said it was from bodyslam.net. Cassidy Haynes has a pretty good reputation for facts, except in this situation, I think maybe he got misled. Hmm. Agreed. Because that story, that feud, would have paid big ass dividends. Well, and here's the thing. That story says that the elite said no. Speaks also to our previous conversation. This is where Tony Khan says, no, 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 no. You're gonna sit down with him and you're gonna hash this out, and you're gonna be done, and then we're gonna make money because that's what this is supposed to be. The ability for them to say no speaks to, quite frankly, the creative control that like Hulk Hogan had at Bash of the Beach 2000. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. No, I agree with you there. I agree because, frankly, you could have just as easily done what you did at All In, have Punk seal the deal with Samoa Joe, and then 3, 4 days later go to Dynamite and have Punk show up and maybe slap Kenny Omega. Oh, you'd have done it at All In. Okay, okay. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Uh, in the interest of time, we're just gonna try to zip through Takeshita and Kenny Omega. Okay, give me that. What do you? Why was this one strange to you? Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree with you there. Um, I was all on board with Takeshita getting the win in the 6 man because this is a situation where Takeshita has to win. But now at All Out, you need the period at the end of this story. This should have been Omega's victory. Okay. Well, judging from this pay per view's result with these two, yeah, I think you're right. No, no, please no. By the way, still haven't unlocked the failed ending on that match yet in Fight Forever. Yeah, there's actually a failed ending to the exploding bar match. Hmm. Yes, I agree. I mean, he's pinned Omega twice. That should speak volumes. Yeah, yeah, me neither. Well, and this does lend a question mark to what happens next because I mean, Takeshita winning at this point, maybe he's the guy that takes the title off Christian and Luchasaurus. Oh, that would be good. Really good. Is that Full Gear? Yeah. Oh, Wrestle Dream. Hmm. I could definitely see that. I mean, there's room to put Takeshita in just about any conversation title wise. So yeah, I agree with you. So we move into another match that, in my opinion, goes to your point where this was just weird. FTR and the Young Bucks against Bullet Club Gold. On one part, I'm like, okay, so there should have been a noticeable divide between FTR and the Bucks to lead us to match 4. But we don't really get that. We get really Bullet Club Gold winning. You could honestly say they won clean. Yes, and I loved, by the way, the fact that Chicago at first was like not for the Young Bucks. By the way, Young Bucks wearing the same gear they wore last year at All Out. Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Hmm. Excuse me. Oh, tagging in early, trying to be the guy in charge kind of thing. Yeah, I noticed that. Hmm. Well, and that's true. There's a part of me that thinks that this is, like I said earlier, building to FTR Young Bucks 4, which if there's a god in this world, make it 2 out of 3 falls. Come on, man. Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't think they were going to lose this one. I thought this was going to be kind of a given all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Well, to that same point, Jay White, I don't know if you've seen the posters now for Collision. Jay White's in the front. He is the guy, which I love, by the way. If you didn't know about Jay White before, and I get it because New Japan isn't necessarily for everybody. Jay White's legit. And you're about to find out why. He will get a singles title before this year is done. Hmm. Right, right. Well, we go from I agree with you. It was kind of an interesting question mark as to wow, how'd they get here to the main event, which a lot of people have been questioning Orange Cassidy and what his position is in AEW. People have actually said that they didn't think he really belonged in the position he's in. But then you start seeing some of the stats and some of the title defenses, and you start looking at the matches he's had, and you can't help but say, no, Orange Cassidy belongs in the position he's in. And if anything, we might see Orange Cassidy, and I have a theory, I'll give you that in a minute. We might see Orange Cassidy moved up towards main events for the foreseeable future, especially after seeing his match with John Moxley. Of course, I tend to think that John Moxley can literally make anybody look good. Yep, I agree. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, Mox has been. I saw it when he was Dean Ambrose back in the day. When he was Dean Ambrose and he was, performing at a really top level outside of his match with Brock, um, which wasn't his fault. He had something really unique, and you could see that he was just on the what's the word, the precipice of it. He was so close. He gets to the AEW, and you really see it when he first starts taking on Jericho, and he makes his road to the top. And then he's literally defending against anybody and everybody, making the AEW World Title, in my opinion, doing more than Omega did for the title. I know. Look, I'm not trying to say that Omega sucks. I'm not going all crazy with it. I'm just saying that it was Mox that took the company on his shoulders when Punk screwed up last year. It was Mox that did all of the work to get the title past the first champion. Because what was the question we all asked? Well, God, if Cody doesn't beat Jericho, who beats Jericho? Yeah, but that's because you're like, oh, well, it's just not time yet. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we know. Stupidest idea ever, by the way. So we did talk about it a little bit last week. I'll point this out to you because I am curious as to your take on this. The going story now is the reason that Cody and AEW parted ways was because they weren't going to renew Brandy's contract. I mean, I guess I can understand that. Yep. Mhm. Mhm. No, in fact, she has stated while she is not officially saying she's retired, she's in no hurry to get back in the ring. Yeah, it was really bad. The Anthony Agogo stuff was horrible. Yeah, I'll give you that. Hmm. 2 years ago, but I see your point. Nope. Which I still contend biggest mistake in WrestleMania history. Now that is a good point, and that's where you and I ultimately agree. Because I still feel like had he beaten Roman, you had no one else for him to really defend against. So the next guy up, let's just say it was Damian Priest, since he's holding the Money in the Bank contract. You know WWE would have taken that title off of him with Damian Priest. To that point, yeah. And then he ultimately would have lost it. Yep. And it may have found its way back to Roman at that point. Oh God, I'm glad they didn't go that direction. By the way. Right. Right. Mhm. Mhm. I think, and we'll head back to All Out here because I do want your closing thoughts on it. But I think with Cody, we will still ultimately see him come back to AEW. Whether it's as a former WWE champion or not, I don't know. But I think he'll ultimately go back. That's because you called him a sellout. That's because you called him a sellout. Yeah, I agree. Ooh, come on. I was gonna say, don't paint it on me. Don't do that. Eesh. Oof. Okay. We'll see how that plays out. I mean, you might be the guy that's right. Yeah. I'll say this to that point, that was the stupidest decision he could have ever made. While I understood why he said it, still a very stupid call. Too much money to be made without making that promise. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, that I don't think there's an argument for that. I think you're absolutely right on that part. Yeah. No, I get you. Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go work for Apple now. Oh, buddy, I got nothing. I got no respect for the guy. I just don't.
Crazy.
And when it falls flat and he doesn't get that title, y'all are going to be like, "Oh wow, he did not win that world title."
And once we get to that point where he apparently didn't win the world title, it will be an interesting question. I do think, like I said, I do think he'll ultimately find his way back there. But if he doesn't win the title, I could honestly see the fans forcing him to be a heel because him coming out would just get him booed by the
But he won't
AEW
be the heel.
audience.
He won't be the heel. I mean, I haven't seen him lately, but I'd almost be curious if he still got
He's
the
John
heat.
Cena over right now. That's the thing. Like he's John Cena over.
But what's he doing? Like,
He's not doing anything right this moment. That's the funny thing. Like last night on what was it last night? No, Saturday night on Payback, he was a guest of that's that guy's name, Grayson Waller. And his role was to announce Jey Uso coming to Raw as a main event player.
as a main event player.
Well, he called a main event Jimmy Uso.
But isn't he on SmackDown? Cody on SmackDown now?
No, he's on Raw still. At least I
Oh, I
assume.
thought they swapped. I thought I read they swapped. So, but you know what? Okay, that's what we're doing with Cody. Yeah, let him go announce Jay. Let's not give him a match.
So to close this out, final thoughts on AEW All Out. You said at the beginning you felt it was weird. It had an odd kind of feel to it, but in 7 days, AEW has done more than 90,000 tickets sold. 91,000, actually, if we're being specific. Pay-per-view buys, we don't know the official number of All In, but it sounds like it might be close to 300,000 between the two pay-per-views. I mean, yeah, I get it. The drama with CM Punk and Jack Perry is huge. I agree. It's a big story, but much to the chagrin of CM Punk and Jack Perry, it should not overshadow the success that AEW found in 7 days' time.
Yeah, but like I don't think you can measure the success in 7 days, right? I think you can measure the success in 4 years. But I don't think we're at the 5th year yet. I think we got a few more months to go. I think it's 4 years. That's how we measure, right? But again, the 7 days have now showed you're in the next step, right? No more fiddle farting around. No more backstage fucking goddamn arguments and turn into fist fights. The guys that have been in those positions need to take that locker room by the neck.
And for what it's worth, I would still say, you know what? Jack Perry suspended, which I agree with. I'd still fire him.
I would fire him too. Yes.
I would call him right now. I'd say, you know what? Here's what I've noticed over the past week. We don't need you. Have a great career.
Correct.
Have a great life. Go enjoy NXT. See you later.
Correct.
You and Pillman Jr. Go have a great career.
Yes.
By the
Bye-bye.
way, I still think Pillman Jr. still has a huge upside. I just don't think he had enough TV time.
That's for another day.
Yeah, agreed.
But,
Okay.
listen, again, it's now time. Tony, if you're out there listening, you better do some soul searching. You are now solidified as the number 2 promotion in the United States.
Yep.
Now time to act like it. Find you some locker room leaders. Tell them to be locker room leaders. And let's stop doing this stupid kid shit.
And for the love of God, let Samoa Joe be that guy.
And fire Jack Perry.
Yes.
I swear to God I would.
Hashtag
listen,
fire Jack Perry.
They may not realize it now, but he is the catalyst for AEW losing millions of dollars.
That's as good of an exclamation point as we can put on this week's episode. I can't argue with that. Catch up with your boys on the X. Used to be known as Twitter. Now it's known as X. Rob's at Rob Hefner C2C. Brian is at Vlad Dragul C2C. That's VLADDRAGOOL C2C. I'm at Stan Grubb C2C, and the show is at C2C Radio Show, and of course, C2CRadioshow.com. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'm pretty sure that's public domain now. I can say that. Have a great week, everybody.